Okay, good morning again guys. So for this session, mag-discuss lang ko sa basic principles ng gihapon and concepts. So if you have specific questions siguro of a particular parasite organism, I'll provide a question and answer na pod na tab since we cannot tackle it everything gid karon, so more on kuan ba ta familiarization sa mga terms as well as sa basic interaction and concept, so that if mo go deep na ta into a particular parasite, mas dali na dayon. So here, last time, di ba na mention ako with regards sa trophic interactions. So, ang parasite could be present in sa kung host and predator na situation. Ang parasite could be present also sa host, but also it could be present sa predator once the predator ate the host na infected sa certain parasite. So here, 'di ba, parasites can function as both predators and prey, so parasites that feed on hosts engage in a special type of predation. So when it comes to trophic relationship, it is also responsible for the species interdependence and contribute to shaping behaviors as well. So why parasites are ecological importance? So parasites can shape community structure, which have an effect on its trophic interactions, food webs, and such as also competition behavior and keystone species. So here, also the predators consume parasite during the consume of an infected host. So, di ba last time na mention ako sad nga ang parasite could be when it comes sa trophic na levels na siya sa around sa secondary or mostly sa pinakataas na level, but it is also possible that parasite could be at the top pod when a predator eats a infected prey. So also, parasites can also be an important source of prey. So because parasite have, for example, this in this figure one, parasites as prey. They are they are they can be eaten by the predators. So the life cycle of the parasite goes on gihapon as long na walay mawala, such as the presence of the predator and its prey is still present. The life cycle of the parasite still goes on gihapon siya. So here, parasites again can infect new hosts due to trophic transmissions, and alters behavior of and morphology in ways that increase predation risk. So there is a figure, a certain frog is infected with a bacteria which is infected by a trematode endoparasite, which cause amphibians to develop severe limb deformation. So with regards ani, it becomes susceptible pod sa predators. So in honey, kani siya nga trematode impairs the ability of the frog to jump and swim, and it makes more susceptible to the birds, which is probably a definitive host. So here, the roles of parasites in predator-prey interactions, uh, parasite can influence the outcomes put as well, since the frog is infected already and it causes deformities, which is when it comes to predation na maglisod na siya o na di na siya katakas or na siya less mobility. So in chance makaon na sa predator and mo transfer na pod ang parasite sa predator, which completes its life cycle and palayo na din na siya. So here, they say that parasites are often said to be an exploitropic relationship between the various host species. So here, parasites with complex life cycles also can be used as an indicator of overall biodiversity, and its presence of certain species implied that it could be a presence of all intermediate or a presence of all definitive hosts. So there is a figure, it illustrates that the idea that a few parasites found in a common sunfish. So a certain fish eats the aquatic insects and small crustaceans, but that probably be infected with larval fixed already, tapeworms, or even juvenile roundworms. So here, ang mga immature parasites present atong aquatic insects and small crustaceans probably been undergoing certain life cycle na, and it needs a last host so that it could complete the life cycle pod, and ongoing na pod gyapon na tuyok lang. So when the tawagan ni the heron or the bird kan nasa taas, it's the fish, ang mahitabo is na-acquire pod nila ang worms na ingest sa fish. So it turns out that the life cycle of that certain parasite keeps going on na lang po din. And then once the bird defecates, so the presence of eggs of that same parasite goes into the water and then infected the food ingested by the fish, and then tuyok ra na sila. As long na ay naa ang possible intermediate and definitive host, padayon na gihapon ang life cycle sa atong parasite. So moving on sa adaptations for transmission. So there are two types of parasite reproduction pod based ani. So it's asexual and hermaphroditism. So asexual reproduction does not need the union of sex cells. So siya na mag-reproduce on her own. Sa iyang kaugalingon. And hermaphroditism is the presence of both male and female reproductive organs. So siya na pod ang bahala fertilize siyang kaugalingon egg, since both of the organs is present man pod sa iya. So by this, parasite can easily increase ilahang reproductive potential and do succeed in finding a host. So moreover sa asexual reproduction, so here it occurs on larval or sexually immature stages such as polyembryony and internal budding. So polyembryony is the formation of more than one embryo from a single fertilized ovum or in single seed. So kani si figure 15.22 wala na ko na check kung unsa ni siya nga organism, but also I'll be working on finding a specific video for this if I can find any, para mas ma-emphasize yun unsay nahitabo during the polyembryonic process, and also with the internal budding as well, since internal budding favored by parasite such as the Toxoplasma gondii, so its presence on pets such as dogs and cats. So it involves an initial process in which two daughter cells are produced inside the mother cell and then consumed by the other offspring prior to separation. So moving on, Anisha, this is type of asexual reproduction as well. So hopefully I can find a specific video lang po na mas maka fully understand aning types of asexual reproduction para mas ma-visualize po ninyo. Okay, Shishogoni is another type of asexual reproduction as well as the binary fission. So here makita nato that Shishogoni is a type of asexual reproduction that undergoes nucleus division preceding cell division. So paspas with regards to the binary fission, mas paspas si Shishogoni when it comes to creating nucleus numerous times. Compared to binary fission, it takes, which is common to the free-living protozoa such as Paramecium. So it takes a certain amount of time before siya mahimong duha. Unlike Shishogoni nga, multiple pinaspasa ihang styles. So also again, I'll be providing hopefully an exact example for this, like a video for a certain organic parasite organisms as well. So moving on sa another type of asexual reproduction, which is hermaphroditism. So this type of asexual reproduction is this eliminates the necessity of the parasite to find a mate for sexual reproduction, but instead, um, this parasite can easily just fertilize its eggs, and reproduction of certain parasite would be possible. So more chances to infect a host. So, for example, anahemaphroditism is tapeworm. So, Monisha, it undergoes it has different undifferentiated region, and each region is called proglottids. So these proglottids is is a hermaphroditic equivalent of a hermaphroditic worm. So each square of this tapeworm have already the necessity or the needs to reproduce. So this is an video, so kindly watch lang po for more information po anyways.
Segments known as proglottids. There are not many systems present in the tapeworm's body given the simplified body structure of this parasite. For example, the digestive system has all but deteriorated given that the tapeworm absorbs the nutrients from its host digestive tract through its skin. There are nerve cords which pass from the cerebral ganglion near the stomach throughout the body, but many of these nerves will degenerate as the proglottids mature. Excretory tubules pass through the proglottids as well. Most of the proglottids, especially as they mature, are dedicated to the reproductive system. Each proglottid is a complete hermaphroditic unit, although most tapeworms are self-sterile. There are testes, which are connected to a variety of sperm ducts, which can transport sperm out through a genital pore. Sperm from a different individual can enter the vagina and then fuse with the eggs which are produced in ovaries. The uterus will store the embryos, and as the proglottids near the point where they will be released from the body, these embryos are mature enough to either break through the proglottid wall or to hatch from the proglottid which has been released.
So that's it for the hermaphroditism of tapeworm. I hope nadunggan ninyo no, pero if wala, I'll be adding it na lang gid sad sa ato ang another katong module na isa with all the other videos for this. So basically, hermaphroditism is on tapeworm. So each proglottid or each segment of the tapeworm have already the testis and the ovary for reproduction. Then once eggs are matured already, they can just go out sa kaning proglottid, which possibly burst the organism itself po. So again, also for behavioral adaptation, since there are numerous examples of the parasite's attributes that presumably increase a species' chance of encountering new hosts. So ani, the parasite finds a way to tawag ani to transfer from one specific host to another host just to complete the life cycle. So here, it influences an intermediate host, making it more susceptible to predation by a definitive host. So, for example, aning a video is the organism, another type of trematode in genus Lycochloridium. So, di ba, ang intermediate host is the host which harbors the internal larval stage or the asexual form of parasite. So, when the intermediate host is eaten by the next uh, host would be the definitive host. So this definitive host is the one who harbors the adult parasite and where the parasite reproduces asexually. So as long the two hosts is still present, ongoing lang gihapon ang life cycle sa atong parasite. So here's another video which is this type of trematode infected the snails, which makes the snails more susceptible to the next host, which is the birds. So this is katong, I don't know if nakita na gid ninyo, if nag-try mo tanaw.
Beneath this peaceful landscape, a snail has eaten parasites. They've turned it into a zombie. These spectacular, bizarre, bulging eyeballs are the snail's tentacles. Inside them, parasitic worms have begun an amazing feat of mind control. These parasites have taken over the snail's tentacles and its brain. It's all part of an ingenious plan to extend the life of the parasite and its offspring. The snail has become possessed. It is doomed now to follow the parasite's will. The parasite is on the move, looking for another host. Next, the parasite meets a bird. Hypnotized, the snails march into the sunshine. They climb from the shade to the tips of exposed branches above. The snail's tentacles, engorged now by their possessors, have grown to resemble a maggot. And a maggot is the favorite food of the birds above. In an instant, the bird attacks, and the parasite triumphs. The parasitic worm happily multiplies in the bird's stomach. Its final trick is to complete the cycle, but it will have little trouble, as the snails below graze on bird droppings. Filled with a new batch of mind-controlling parasites, once they're eaten, the hypnosis of the snails will continue, and the life cycle of the parasite will roll on.
So, mao to siya ang one of the behavioral adaptations ng katong certain parasite just to survive and complete its life cycle. So, that was a type of snail. Wala di ko sure sa to siya nga specifically nga snail, but I can look it up pod and let you know pod as well. So, I think na nag-raise of hands. Pero di na ko siya makita kay ang ako makita is ang PowerPoint. So, if you have question, please. Yes?
Kanang nami classmate na nag-racing.
Unsa daw sa to?
Ay, nami classmate kung nga gawait sila pa makasulod.
Ay, kadjot lang.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ay! So generous pa sulat kay ko. Continue lang dayon ta. Kasulod na ba to? Admit all naman. Turan mo nga na. Okay, so continue lang dayon ta. Sorry lang. Okay, palit ta ato. So, okay. So, mao siya ang behavioral adaptation sa napanisulod. Hindi na ako magpasulod kay maputol na. Recording session na lang nila. Sa snail, So moving on sa epidemiology and transmission ecology. So I think na-mention ako ni siya sa previous pod na mga lectures that epidemiology is a method used to is the study of all ecological aspects, which explains transmission, distribution, prevalence, and incidence in a population. So also this is an epidemiology is cause of it is used as method to find out the cause of health outcomes and disease in population. So here, yung factors yung mentioned is transmission, distribution, prevalence, and incidence. So transmission have different types, which is kanisa direct contact, indirect, droplet particles, airborne particles, common vehicle, or vector-borne. So direct and indirect contact are the common modes of transmission. Since transmission simply implies the passing of pathogen from one host to another. So when it comes to direct contact, this refers to the transmission occurs on the microorganism transferred by direct physical contact from an infected individual. Also, indirect contact is a transmission involves transfer of a microorganism via an object. And the next is droplet particles. So this involves large droplet, which is greater than 5 microns in diameter. So usually this comes from the respiratory tract during coughing or sneezing. And next is airborne particles. So this type of transmission, microorganisms are transmitted through dust or small particles that can floating in air and can be passed through depending sa it could be dispersed depending sa yung air currents as well. Also, kaning common vehicle type of transmission, it refers to a transmission of a contaminated source, which includes food, medication, intravenous fluids, so on and so forth. So this type of transmission could result to large scale outbreak. And the next is the vector-borne. So this type of transmission refers to infection caused by animals and insects. So for example is the West Nile virus or the dengue virus or malaria. So next is distribution. So when it comes to distribution, it concerns with the frequency and pattern of health events in population. If we say frequency, wala siya nag-refer sa number of health events such as the number of cases, for example, meningitis or diabetes in a population, but also they consider the relationship of that number to the size of the population. So for the next lessons, if I can explain more specific aning transmission, distribution. So when it comes to a specific disease, we can know what type sa siya nga klase transmission type and unsa iyang distribution. Probably I think distribution of a certain disease is not very specific since it depends po sa lugar. If we can say na if we consider one area lang, like probably Cagayan de Oro, so probably mas dali siya compare niyo whole Mindanao, so lahi pod na siya, or probably whole Philippines, lahi pod na siya. So also moving on with the prevalence and incidence in a population. So I did provide another video to really explain it much closer and makadali siya mo. Dali na siya ninyo ma-remember ano siyang type of video since gi-explain din niya ang difference and the difference sa duha. So here also when it comes to macro epidemiology, so this concerns mainly sa large-scale problems compared to microepidemiology, which is only concerned to small-scale problems. So here, a macroepidemiology, um, it's collection of data ani. If you wanted to study on a large scales, it really requires substantial funding. Institution also collecting data from institutions such as hospitals or probably universities. You need trained personnels and government policies, which allows this to happen. So microepidemiology, this will probably involve a whole country or a specific no, not lugar kay gamay man. It could be very sad. Beside collecting information within a certain city is lisod Japan, since you need to coordinate with hospitals, probably some information sa other pa like sa municipio, probably they have datas needed, or since you'll be collecting it from years ago pa jud, and then compare that specific disease karon rag somewhat ina na ang macro epidemiology, since large scale man iyahang gi point out anis, and also ang micro, so small scale problems lang. So iyahalang concern is the effect of individual host parasite interaction, the parasite strains, host genetic variation, and immunity on disease distribution. So very specific si micro but very tedious po. Like it takes taon-taon po ni siya mahuman, since if we say you're studying the host genetic variation, you need to check the genetic composition ani nila also. And when it comes to host parasite interaction, you'll be observing in the wild or probably experimental based na present ang host o parasite when it comes to its interaction. So you could already make a thesis out of just host parasite interaction, and then depende pa gid na sa imong certain tawag ani objectives. So very kuan gyapon ning microepidemiology, either specific pero kuan siya taod-taod pud ka ani mag study, since it's a small scale problem. So probably kani siya ang basihan. So when it comes to host parasite interaction, you need to consider po ang environment, ang iyahang palibot, at the same time unsay present po na other species, which this could influence po the host parasite interaction. So if inani siya, it's more on na po ecology na part ani. So we're dealing lang po sa parasitology na part ani ato ang karon. Also, so to completely understand the disease transmission, especially when human behavioral factors are involved, so this requires study on different levels as well. So next is landscape epidemiology. So it studies on spatial variation in disease risk. So moreover, it needs this type of epidemiology. It has a strong connection with landscape characteristics and also relevant environmental factors as well that influence the dynamics and distribution of host, vector, and pathogen population. So this requires thorough knowledge of all factors put for influence transmission, such as the climate, the plant and animal population densities, so insay present na tanom or animals present on that landscape as well. Also geological conditions, and also human activities present and pud nga area. So daghan gid siya i-consider when you're studying landscape epidemiology. So this, moreover, there are most important epidemiological factors in parasitic infections, such as the vectors. So kaning vectors, for example, the snail or blood-sucking arthropods. So kani siya. Moreover, the upcoming lessons, permin na to nimi, ma-encounter si vectors. Since vectors are vehicles by which infections are transmitted from one host to another. So this term intend to use to most often to describe for which host of economic or personal interest to humans, such as also can be for certain parasites. So cunning vectors would be the vessel for sa parasites, and also moreover I'll be hoping to discuss more on the vectors as well, since di man siya karon ang main points ating lesson. So before I could have a quick overview for vectors na lang pod as well, so that mas dali na lang nako siya ma-discuss po when it comes to specific na dayon nga topics. So parasite evolution. So here, parasite evolution refers sa heritable genetic changes throughout time. And so the parasite accumulates during its lifetime. This arises adaptation in response to environmental changes or the immune response of the host. So parasite evolution, it undergoes adaptation as well just to survive the basal. So here, there are two factors that influence the patterns, which is descent and colonization. So a parasite can be associated with the host because they too share a long evolutionary history. So it is called descent. So wala ko'y specific type of host and parasite na relationship na iti tawag ani nga nag-undergo gig pila ka years together. So I'll be probably looking for that as well, since wa ko'y makita. I'm not sure if I need to look. I need to read pod articles lang just to find an example ani. But I'll try to find a specific host and prey na relationship na it undergoes long periods of time. Here, the host switching or host capture. So the host and parasite may be associated because the parasite has already colonized the host in a manner analogous to colonization of an island. So if the parasite already colonized the specific host, so this is called host switching or host capture, since this term that it's already termed that because it undergo taod-taod na sad sila naguban. So probably that happens if naa sa specific area and walay other host ang parasite para mas mo continue ang life cycle, or probably in this type of parasite iyahang life cycle is already in one host lang. So no need to jump from one host to another. Next is phylogeography. So this is between the evolution and long-term geological changes. So phylogeography is a process on considering on the continental drift, island formation, which influence the geological distribution of both host and parasites. So hopefully I can find a good example for phylogeography. And then next is phylogenetic systematics. So I think if naka-undergo na mo 103, so here they need phylogenies to know the evolutionary history between host and parasites. So this typically represents tree-like diagrams with relationship with taxa shown in branching patterns. So I'm currently looking for an example gidani para mas ma-visualize ninyo ang something phylogenetic tree of a specific or a parasite organism. So I'll be adding this as well sa akong pangitan of example, since book kay dili kayo nasa example pero bitaw dili kayo siya very kanang bitang pagtan-aw nimo, dili kayo dali makuha dayon. So gusto ko specific na example na mas dali siya mag-grasp po din you guys. Para makakuha mo specific para makakuha na bitang specific input na lang po din as well by just looking at a specific example. Mao din yung meanings sa certain term. So here moving on sa atong phylogenetic systematics, ang gina-use na characters to produce phylogenies could be molecular, structural, ecological, or geographical. So it means this could lead to huge data which we really need computer programs just to generate phylogenies. So dili siya nga mano-mano. So moving on to parasitism and sexual selection. So there are negative effects of parasitism, which could influence the reproductive behavior and success. So this observed in a wide range of animals such as insects and mammals. So one example ani is katong female birds such as swallows. I think wallows na typo na ko ani. So they can distinguish parasitized and non-parasitized males and select mates accordingly. So they maka-choose man day sila. So some biologists believe that parasitism could really a factor in contributing to the evolution of host reproductive biology. So for example, aning katong sa birds, when a specific male bird is infected with an hematozoans, so this is type of parasite which if kung ma-acquire siya sa bird's life earlier, na a negative effect niya which affects its ability to learn the songs, which is critical for mating success. So if you already watch certain mating calls sa mga birds, they can easily detect kung unsa ang bird ang same species. I don't know if nakawatch mo to sa Netflix katong sa tuwa katong na-specific kita to, nakita naman ako to, nalimot lang ko. Na certain birds na ritual or something na sila ginabuhat prior to mating, and then mag-decide ang female bird if mugo siya or not. So inana siya. So na certain mating
Katong Netflix movie, ma'am, about katong mga kakanta nga birds, like sila dances pod.
Oo. Katusiya. Oo. So inato. So adto nga type kay ang female birds mupili pa siya or unsa ba mugo ba or dili, is mamili ang mga female birds. Also napoy also distinguish certain so in a certain area napoy birds na alay lahi klase, even though same species sila, pero like di gihapon sila ga-easily mate on each other because nasa sila different mating calls. So makatuod po sila sa each other since they already have their specific mating calls. Even though para silang species, di gihapon sila ga-interact with each other. Dito lang sila sa specific species with a specific mating call. So ani siya if ang katong bird is infected with this certain parasite, na siya negative effects sa ability to learn the song. So dili siya so it's critical for mating success. So somewhat makapamili gid ang bird since if that yang possible partner mate unta is doesn't know the songs, dili gid siya mapilian. So walay reproduction mahitabo. So aside from birds as well is also kaning mammals. So they depend strongly on odors, and some studies shows that the female mice avoid males infected with both coccidians and nematodes. So probably if a certain mice infected with parasites, di na sad siguro na groom or sa bakaha. So kani si female mice, they rely on odors na lang sad. So makita nila nga probably if infected na gid ang male, it could create the wounds and some sort when may infected, maho magid na. So motong kaning si female mice mo avoid gid siya. So kani siya this type of behavior can impact both males and females and affect both egg reproduction and mate choice. So this has been postulated by the females that it could be according to the immune competence pod sa males. So I hope I can find another example, Annie, pero I think nakakita naman examples of birds on how they do mating call. So here, so this negative effect sa host fitness selection favors the evolution of anti-parasite defenses. So mo ni siya sa tawag ani oy. I hope I can find more example ani kay somewhat engaging siya when it comes to marabitag napoy ecology part ani when it comes to parasitism and then its behavior for sexual selection. So moving on ta sa, I'm not sure, last slide na ba ni? Evolution of virulence. So I also add a specific video pod ani since it could really explain niya when it comes to evolution. It taod-taod pa gini wala pa ta nga exist tanan. So I hope I can can provide another alternate video ani to somehow explain it much better. But I think this video pod kaniya ko ipakita is already explains the evolution for virulence. So, di ba virulence this is a long-established paradigm states that the parasite should evolve in a less virulent forms, mainly because the death of host should be negative effect of parasite survival. But regardless if na siya effect sa negative, na siya yung negative effects sa parasite survival, parasite could also find another host naman po since they can adapt man sad as well as long na mo survive lang sila. So virulence is the severity of or harmfulness of a disease. So when it comes to parasite virulence, it's defined as the damage done to the host during host-parasite interactions. So here, there's a video explaining mainly more on its evolution. So according to some theories as well, that parasites should evolve in an optimal virulence that maximize parasite numbers. So it depends on the numerous factors such as pathogenicity and transmission dynamics. So there's a arguable naiuban dili go argue on certain points on evolution of virulence. So these factors could be because it factors as well the genetic diversity of the host and parasite, individual host-parasite interactions, and different time scale for transmission, which affects the evolution of virulence. So moving on, ako na share ang video. So I think taod-taod po mga around 8 minutes, I guess. I'm not sure if madunggan ninyo, no?
Ebola virus is killed more than 75% of the big land fish. Bubonic plague 60%, SARS about 15%,
Oh, fish ko
malaria
so.
maybe 1%, flu less than 0.1%.
Ay, sa madunggan ninyo guys or hinay kayo?
Hinay, ma'am.
Okay, if inana magaling may gani. Ako na lang siya i-attach dito. Uy, Diyos ko, di na magdungo gani. Kalain, basta di ko masabtan. So, for this, so man siya ang last slide for the for this session. So, moreover, ako sa stop. So, after aning meeting, i-add na ko ni tanan sa atong tawagan ni sa atong recording session. If wala pa na i-remind ko dyan, ako na siya i-add yun para mas you can watch it while ako din siya idungan sa recording session ko as well para mas dali sa inyo ha. Since with regards to the tawagan ni PowerPoints, ako na lang siya ihatag later on since idungan man ako si lecture 1 o si lecture 2. Also, I think we're down to chapters naman for the for prelims. So I think maka-insert pa ko another chapter before prelims pod. So kamo sa mga prelims anime. Ito na wala ko schedule. So mo to siya. I'll be providing pod another pod tab for questions pod. If you need if na mo specific question, I'll please add it na. So when it comes to na certain lessons na ma-undergo na ko to, pwede na ko to ma-mention pod as well. And then if di madala ako siyang create na lang po kung another video pod or additional videos na lang po to siya. So I'm not sure again kinsa tong nang question regarding Toxoplasma gondii na ko nakita yun nga specific video like TED Talk talk nila is about Toxoplasma gondii. So when it comes to transmission, if mapituhan ba ka or unsa ba, so naadod to na nakita din ako to siya. So so far, thank you for attending. I'm not sure kung pila ni sila tanan. So also next time is kanang We do have synchronous session, still start man tag 8, then ganina nag-start og 8:05. So please be early na lang pod para di segmento na po tong discussion. So far, more to siya today. Nabatay question with regards to unsa ba?
Excuse me, ma'am. Ang katong kuan, ma'am, assignment, do we need references in that, ma'am?
Wala ko kapangutan na. Pero if nakakita mo references, mas maayo. Pero if wala mo naka-add na lang po, okay ra since ako amang pong fault. Wala ko ka-mention na put all references and all.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yes. I hope napasa po din itong tawag ani assignment. So, of course, with regards sa katong inyong tawag ani limot ako. Oh my God. Katong tawag ani per group na report. So, I'm not sure if nag-read na mo has, but better nag-read na mo since di paningkamutan ako itong 10 pages minus 3 pages for references mo lang 7 to 8 rin yung basahon na pages. So, with regards ato, pwede ko ka-experience yung buhatan na to. So, most likely, maghatag mo summary adto nga ISA. Alagi, articles ang gihatag sa inyo. So, per article, you need to summarize. For I know na ay summary sa kada article, katong na abstract, introduction, and all. Pero, lahi ra gid tong if nabasa na ninyo since you can create your own summary output na lang side. You can state na mo ni ang problem or unsa bang gistudihan na parasite, and then sa if they have methods, you can add kung gi-identify ba or unsa ba kahay gibuhat to identify na. And then sa result, you can add as well. And since so most likely when article presentation at I hope you can each group can finish it 15 minutes taas naman siguro, pero 15 minutes na 3 minutes siguro nga para na kanang question and answer. So sa 15 minutes 12 minutes probably reporting, if you can do it earlier, much better. And na question I can accommodate 2 questions siguro from the class. So hopefully ang questions sad sa inyong groups is based pod sa ilahang gi-report, dili sad more way off lang gid kaayo nga dili lang gid nila matubag kay wala dito sa scope sa ilahang article. So if na so mao to siya. And also prior to, I'm not sure if nakaingon ako when mo nakaingon na ba ko when mo mag-reporting sa articles? Wala pa, ma'am. Ay, wala pa.
18 man siguro, ma'am.
Karon? September 18?
Murag.
Oh, okay. So, I'll encourage everyone to send me an outline before ana ha. Bahala na if later na ako makita ang PowerPoint, but I need the outline para makita gid na ako if
Pwede sa dugay-dugay, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am. Kanang
Yes.
pila ka group per session nga ang mag-report?
Basi ana since naka-number naman to kinsay una kay giroleta jud nako to. Since 15 minutes, if 1 hour lang pa, may question 15. Pila ba na? 30. Mudagan og 4 lang, 4 groups. If mutukar ang group, dali ra siya mahuman, bitaw bump. So, pan lang ta, 4 groups lang ta para di pod ma-aware lang ang others. Sila na dig sunod. Pero prepare lang gihapon mo guys just in case. Of course, if you have more time pod, you can read other pod kaning articles sa uban nga probably una mo present para na pod mo idea. So this would be this serve also as your kanang na practice na lang pod to read articles para mas when it comes na this thesis na mas dali na siya or mas mas nanamoy technique kung saan siya pag-check, like tanaw lang mo specific ani kung mo ba ning gipangitaan na lang din ka kaysa mag-print kag daghan din di mo mabasa din, it turns out useless na siya sa imong study. So naiinana. Okay, so
Excuse me, ma'am. Last question,
yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
Per week ang session nga mag-report, ma'am, or katong kuan gyud nimo nga time like twice a week?
Oh yes, when it comes to kanang reporting, mas maayo humana na to dayon bitaw. When mag-start na ta, hopefully mahuman na to. I'm not sure pila ta ka groups. Dumdumon sa nako. kay para maka-consume matag gamay lang po. So, hopefully, once mag-start ka, kung mag-start yung synchronous session sa reporting, synchronous session na lang po dahil sa next para madayon po ang uban. So, ana lang.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hopefully, 10 to 12 minutes. If kaya ninyo earlier, you can. As long na makuha ninyo. You can report the article and then questions lang din 2 questions lang dayon. So, no questions na grabe ka, kuan ha. Grabe ka sa pag-ana. Wala na sa scope sa reporters. Okay. So, if we don't have questions na, thank you so much for attending, guys. And if you have more clarifications, message me sa GC na to para mas mabuhat na, malihok na to na. Thank you for attending and enjoy your day. Stay safe mo, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
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 Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.